Hello, world. Welcome to episode 1 of Minds of Resonance. 1 year ago, I quit my corporate job. And in the months leading up to that, I spent a lot of time really considering what is it that makes a meaningful life? What are the means required to build a life with purpose? In terms of conventional success, I've hit the markers throughout the years. But if you've discovered meaning and purpose outside of what is conventional and you want to pursue that, it takes massive energy and focus to change the trajectory of your life. This also depends on how far along you are in that set path, right? And maybe this title called to you because you're in the middle of a transition right now that you didn't necessarily choose. Layoffs happen, family emergencies happen. A myriad of things can throw you off of what was working. So this topic of resources and capital really hits home for me because of that transition last year. But for anyone else experiencing a reset or a setback, this is for you too. Okay, types of capital, types of resources. You have time, money, and energy. Energy can be interchanged with health as well. So these three mark capital because you can employ one to gain more of another. A really common example is buying your time back. If you have the money, you can hire someone to clean your house. You can hire a meal prepper or a cook. You can hire a nanny. So these things offload things from your time bracket. If you have the energy, and energy is essentially the ability to do labor. So if you work harder, if you work smarter, faster, all these things, you can essentially gain more money through that. You can employ one to gain more of something else. These are the basic types of capital. If you've run really low on any or all of these and you find yourself in dire straits, what can you do to regain it? You know, there's only so much time, there's only so much energy. For me, I had a moderate amount of time. I think most people perceived me as having all the time because I worked remotely, but that wasn't the case. I'd say I'd had moderate time. I had a good amount of money. I had no energy, no health. My health was in shambles, and that's what prompted my life change. We all know how these resources work. You use these things to get what you want. The subject of your desire, you can get it with time, money, or energy. These here are your vehicles to get you what you want. If you run low, you're not out of the game yet. You're going to have to tap in a little bit deeper. You're going to have to tap into your metacapital. And the way I see it, these consist of conviction, determination, and a positive attitude. And I know that last one sounds a little fluffy. To me, it reminds me of like the Harry Potter houses, right? You have Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, and they all sound really powerful and regal. You get to Hufflepuff. And it's like, what are you doing here? I know that's what positive attitude sounds like. I get it. But I'm also going to explain to you why this is actually the one I'm diving into. Conviction means that you have a vision or there's a goal and you know it is there. No one else has to believe you. No one else has to see it. You know something is there, even if it is bespoke to you. Determination means that if there's a will, there's a way. Come hell or high water, I will get there. Like if you took everything from me and I had to crawl on bloodied hands and knees to get to the destination, I will get there. I'm determined, right? So that's plowing through a path to get to the target. Positive attitude is where the magic happens. I know it doesn't sound as sexy as the first two. Those two are really simple. It quotes, they're simple. We can understand them and they're more glamorous. People think that they're going to make a life change by strong-arming like a reality into existence. When really, the world, the universe, however you want to see it, they have other plans for you and you're going to have to be open and receptive to that. You cannot strong-arm everything into place. A positive attitude is basically, I've really thought about this. It is having the capacity to operate under discomfort. A positive attitude is not good vibes only. It is not positive thinking. It's having that capacity to work under discomfort. Having a large capacity and operating within it allows you to take things into stride. You are then able to keep your eyes up and your wits about you. That is really important because that's how you can receive opportunities. That's how you can perceive them. Opportunities are everywhere, but they are fragmented. They never come fully formed. It's not plug and play. It's not push a button and ta-da, here is your opportunity with your name on it, geared towards how you work. That's not how they come. They come in bits and pieces, and if you are not receptive to them, you will miss it. And only someone with a positive attitude can catch that glimpse. So notice I said capacity and not ability. There's a distinction, and it's important. Someone with a poor attitude may have the ability to do the task with some discomfort, but their threshold for discomfort is capped. It's much smaller, and when they reach that, their focus is driven inward to themselves and their discomfort, not outwards where things need to be managed. And you could see why this is a problem for lots of things, a sport, a workplace, even family dynamics, friendships. You don't want to work with someone who gets capped for discomfort really quickly and then becomes untenable to work with. Right? Because once they reach that cap, once they reach that threshold, the pressure drives them to do things like complain or pass the work onto someone else. Someone who has a positive attitude understands that the storm cannot last forever. They take it into stride because they are preparing for the end of the storm. They know that they're going to come out the other end, and it's either the prize is right there or they will have everything that they need to get there. Someone with a poor attitude says, what's the point? So that's the difference between ability and capacity. So a good example for this is weightlifting. Okay, so if you give someone who has a large capacity maybe a bit more weights, or you tell them to do one more rep, yeah, it might suck, but they'll get through it. They'll do the bench press or whatever the workout is because they know at the end they can wrap up, they can shower, go home, have a beer, whatever your post-workout thing is, have a protein drink maybe. Someone with a poor attitude is not going to, they might want empty bars. They may not want the weights. They may not want to do that last rep. They'll hem and haw, and they'll just fight you on the task. Like, just do it, get it done, we can be on our way. And they just won't want to do the hard thing. So I have a quick story here. This really highlighted the importance of attitude for me because it kind of took us into a situation where none of us wanted to be in. It became not cute very quickly. Okay, so a few years ago, I was in the military. A small group of us went overseas to another country, and we were doing a joint exercise that lasted a few weeks. The first week we got there, it was pretty difficult because not all of our equipment made it through. We were working with missing pieces. No one was really informed of the full situation. It was a lot of confusion. If you know, you know. So this is what we were working with. Our host nation, the host country, they were very gracious, and there was nothing crazy going on. It was just our ability to do the task was hampered in every which way. Okay, there was a guy on our team who got sick. Legitimately, he had a cold, a flu, whatever it was, but it lasted about the full week. So I think Sunday came around, or Saturday night came around, and we rented a van. We decided to go out to town, have dinner, have drinks, and let our hair down. The guy who was sick suddenly felt better and was good enough to come out with us. Glad to have you. You're part of the team. Come out with us. The commanding officer saw it fit to make him the designated driver. Throughout the trip, it was me. I volunteered. There were only two of us that could drive manual, and it was him and I. That night, the commanding officer said, Jen, you can drink. John, let's call him, guy who was sick all week long, you're going to be the designated driver. I think it's fair, but that's neither here nor there. That was the order. So that night, we all went out, and John had such an attitude. Gosh, he would not crack a smile. He couldn't get along or talk with anyone. He couldn't, just in the corner, eating great food in this cool country, piss poor attitude. So it gets time to wrap up, and we're driving back, okay? So this is late at night, Saturday going into Sunday, and I think it's a holiday. We were the only ones on the street, thank God. On our way back to the post, John kind of snaps. I don't know if we were being too loud in the van. We were all just having too much fun. Everyone's laughing except him. But he slams the brake in the middle of the freeway in this foreign country. This is a van full of drunk Americans, not in America, in the middle of the freeway, just stopped in the middle of the freeway like sitting ducks. This immediately became not cute. So his emotions put us all under stress, to say the least. And his poor attitude about this really put us on edge and put us in a potential situation. There was no excuse for that. But what a poor attitude does is it holds you hostage, just like John was holding us all hostage, literally and figuratively. Other people have to deal with you throwing a tantrum. We have to wait this out. In other scenarios, it might be other people picking up the job for you, other people having to listen to you complain, complain, and that's draining. You are draining on other people. So that's a moderate to high example of a poor attitude, I would say. Not every scenario is going to be that alarming or that concerning, but that story really stuck out as the perfect example of a poor attitude because someone felt so inconvenienced by a non-issue. Imagine if they were actually in a life transition or if hard things were actually happening to them. You don't want that person on your team. You don't want them around you. I don't want you as my coworker. So don't be that person, but think about it flipped as well. You don't want that person around you. So these people, you need to kind of clear your space of negative people, of people with poor attitudes. They will drain you and they'll put you in a position where if you're low on resources, you cannot afford that. You can't. Okay, so what happens in your brain when you have a good attitude or when you are optimistic? Studies show that people with positive attitudes engage their prefrontal cortex more effectively, and that allows them to regulate their amygdala. Your prefrontal cortex is your decision-making and your problem-solving center. Your amygdala is your stress and fear center. People who are optimistic are able to control their stress and their fear more effectively, and this allows them to recover faster from stressful events because they reinterpret the challenge more adaptively. Another thing that happens is that positive attitudes trigger the brain's reward pathways, the mesolimbic dopamine system. This reinforces motivation and resilience because there is an anticipated reward. This can really buffer against despair during times of hardship. So it turns out that Hufflepuff can pack a punch. So when you are low on everything, your means to gain stuff, you need to tap in deeper. You obviously need to have a goal or a vision. You can't be aimless, and that is your conviction. You need to know that there is somewhere worth going, and that's where you're going. You need to have determination because only you can get yourself to your goal. And of course, the positive attitude, which sounds less glamorous than the first two, is kind of where the magic happens. Yeah? So before you take the leap, check in with yourself to see what your capacity is for labor under discomfort. And I fully acknowledge that not all labor is the same. If looking ahead at an assignment, you feel completely unequipped, maybe you are. Or maybe someone knows you have more in the tank and you are being called forward. Maybe you are being called to rise to an occasion. In the example of the weights, you think you might be tapped out, but your coach knows you can add 5 or 10 more pounds. Your coach knows you can reach a PR. If you haven't stretched your capacity or your goal, or you haven't reached that far for something, sometimes life throws you a coach. Life throws you someone else who sees your potential and knows that you can reach something that you feel is out of your grasp. So that's episode 1 for you guys. That's how I got through my I call it no man's land, which is after you take the leap and before you can float onto something else, there is a dry spell. There is a spot that is really painful. I'm not going to lie to you, but you tap into yourself and you employ things and the tools that you have within yourself. Yeah. And you'll get through it. I have this recording on YouTube, so you can watch the video of me talking in my car. If you're watching this on YouTube, know that I do have this on all major podcasting platforms. Thank you guys so much for bearing witness to my first episode. If you liked it, please leave a comment, please review, please follow, subscribe, all the things that one would do to support a channel. I am new here, so I really appreciate your support. Thank you guys. See you in the next one.